Video game choices have come a long way from the boring save the village or kill them all variety, and while we do praise the evolution in nuance and storytelling, you at least knew where you stood with simple binary choices. The choices in the following games are far from simple, and will have players tearing their hair out as they try to figure out where their decisions will lead, and just how badly one rash choice will screw up their perfect run. When something as innocuous as opening a door can kill a beloved character hours later, how can we ever trust ourselves to make any choice again? Naturally, major spoilers abound as we delve into the choices that, while they may seem harmless enough at first, will eventually lead to the deaths of main characters and even entirely different endings by the time the credits roll, so be warned. With that in mind, I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 video game choices that came back to haunt you. Number 10. Fail to find the wedding ring. Nightcry. In most games that give you the option, the path to the good or bad ending can be found towards the end of the game. Nightcry eschews that logic and decides that any player who fails to pick up a key item at the very start of the game is forever doomed to one of its 7 bad endings. Despite being developed by a team of Clock Tower veterans at Nude Maker Studio, that's a bit weird, and marketed as its spiritual successor, Nightcry ended up as one of the worst reviewed games of 2016. Players who chose to brave the bugs and shoddy gameplay to reach the credits better pray that they remembered to pick up the wedding ring from, of all places, a vending machine in Chapter 1. If they didn't, they won't be able to give it to a random shopkeeper named Angie near the end of the game, and she won't give them the third and final billiard ball needed to crack the code to unlock the gate to the owner's quarters, where they can find the mystical artificial eye of Cassites needed to unlock the true happy ending. As previously stated, if players fail to find the eye in the owner's quarters, guess what? They are automatically locked into a bad ending. How fun. Number 9. Breaking into the cabin. The Quarry. We like to think we'd make the right choices if we were ever in a horror movie, but if Supermassive Games' The Quarry is anything to go by, perhaps we wouldn't fare so well. The Quarry sees players taking control of a group of teenage camp counselors who are forced to spend one last night at Hackett's Quarry. Inspired by the best slashers and creature features, The Quarry lets players decide what happens next. While many of these decisions have immediate, often gruesome consequences, others don't make themselves known until it's already too late. One of these choices is whether to break into a cabin. Over the years, video games have taught us that selfish actions usually come back to bite you. So imagine our surprise then when The Quarry actually rewarded players for breaking open the lock. Breaking in not only yields useful items, including a teddy that can be used to save a character's life near the end, but also a safe space for the counselors to hide in later on in the game. Now, TripleJump would never endorse breaking and entering, but if you do find yourself being chased by shadowy creatures of the night, well, the choice is yours, that's all I'm saying. Number 8. Upgrading your biochip. Deus Ex Human Revolution. We all know Adam Jensen never asked for this, but if you ask me, some of those augmentations are pretty neat. I certainly wouldn't mind arms that could knock down brick walls, or cybernetic legs that allowed me to leap over buses. It would definitely make the commute to work more interesting, anyway. Despite his protestations, Adam comes to rely on his newfound abilities, so it comes as a great shock when they all start to glitch out. When this happens, players are given a choice: suffer through the glitches or upgrade to a shiny new biochip. The choice seems pretty obvious, right? Especially as the in-game news stations and repeated calls from Pritchard insist that getting the upgrade is the best course of action. Sadly, this turns out to be a trap, as receiving the upgrade stops the glitches but provides no other benefits, and to make matters worse, secretly installs a kill switch. Just before a decidedly difficult boss fight with Namiya, said kill switch will activate, and poof, there go all those augmentations. Good luck trying to beat this boss without them, you're going to need it. Being so easily hacked, maybe augmentations aren't as fun as they look, but still, they would save me having to walk around all those buildings every single morning. You know what? I think it's still worth it. Number 7. Sparing Lily. The Walking Dead, the final season. Telltale's The Walking Dead is built on difficult decisions, and this being the end of Clementine's tale, it does not hold back. While the consequences of the player's actions are often tough to watch, it's what isn't shown that can really get under the skin. Those who played since the first season may remember Lily as the woman who shot either Carly or Doug, but now she's become the leader of a murderous gang. Towards the end of the game, players find themselves in a standoff with Lily and AJ and are given a choice: shoot or spare Lily. As Clementine has been trying to keep AJ away from the horrors of this world, it would make sense to tell him to spare her. But if they do, she will murder their friend James and escape. That's not the last we see of her, however, and players will be reminded of their poor choice in the next episode when Lily is seen drifting to freedom. While Clementine can try to talk to or shoot her, neither will prevent her escape. Given how many people Lily has hurt over the years, the best choice is actually to kill her when you first get the chance. Number 6. Giving in to torture. Metal Gear Solid. The original Metal Gear Solid was a hugely influential game, both popularizing the stealth genre and revolutionizing the way stories are told in the medium. It also found ingenious ways of breaking the fourth wall to make the player an even bigger part of the experience. One of these moments is when Snake is captured by Ocelot and strapped into an electrical torture device, one designed not only to torture Snake, but the player as well. Once strapped in, thousands of volts of electricity are sent coursing through the player's controller. Through Snake's body, and as he writhes and cries out, the player is forced to continuously mash buttons to keep him alive and conscious. Snake must survive several rounds of this, and each time, the player has to hit that button faster and faster, until by the end, they're just as drained as Snake. It's tricky, yet doable, but Ocelot offers an easy way out for those who want it: give up. However, doing so may get you out of the torture, but we'll see Meryl dying later on. Seeing as Snake was there to rescue her, this is not the best outcome. Leaving with Otacon does grant the player the use of the stealth camo outfit for future playthroughs though, so maybe it's not all bad. Number 5. Not upgrading the Normandy. Mass Effect 2. When you're so good at your job that you've been brought back from the dead to finish it, the last thing you'd want to do is waste your time scanning planets for resources. Surely someone else can do that, someone who doesn't have a galaxy to save, you know? The final challenge in the stellar Mass Effect 2 isn't called the Suicide Mission for nothing, but if players take their time and prepare thoroughly, it's not impossible to see everyone survive. Leveling up, buying better guns, and helping Shepard's squad mates on their loyalty missions all contribute to the preparations and ensure everyone is ready to face the final battle. But what about the Normandy itself? Exploring planets, getting to know crewmates, and getting to know crewmates will take up so much of the player's time that we may neglect to upgrade the ship along the way, especially as these upgrades require resources that can only be obtained through the tedious process of scanning and probing uninhabited planets. But fail to spend any time and money on the ship and things will go wrong. The ship's hull will be breached, the drive charge will overheat, and the aliens you grew to love will be vaporized. Maybe a little probing every now and again isn't such a bad thing. Number 4. Sparing the family. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Since the move away from the old titles and towards the action RPG genre with Origins, the Assassin's Creed series has added many new features over the years, the most important of which, well for this video at least, being choice. Sure, in the past, players were able to choose how they wanted to off a target, but now they're able to change the course of an entire story with a single dialogue choice. No game leans into this feature quite as much as Odyssey. If players ever manage to take a break from sailing the Mediterranean or Spartan-kicking enemies off cliffs, they may find that a choice made at the start of the game has spiraled into something dire. One such choice is whether to spare a family from the hands of a seemingly bloodthirsty priest. Players will find this family begging for help on the island of Kefalonia, and if they choose to intervene, will discover that they're about to be executed by the priest's men. Step in and the priest will end up dead, but at least the family was spared, right? Well, coming back later, players will see the island is completely uninhabited, its populace killed by the plague this family was carrying. Oh boy, decisions are tough. Maybe I'll just stick to sailing and kicking things. Number 3. Comforting Victoria. Life is strange. All your life, you've probably been told 2 wrongs don't make a right, and largely that maxim holds true. But not in the world of Life is Strange. The game stars Max, an 18-year-old photography student at Blackwell Academy, as she muddles through typical teenage problems such as cliques, bullies, and reality-warping time manipulation powers. You know, the usual. It's that time bending that makes the game's choice and consequence-based narrative so intriguing, however, as the player can simply rewind time to change the outcome of any decision. Problems arise, though, when Max realizes she cannot rewind more than a few minutes, meaning decisions made hours or even days ago are permanent. This includes the choice to either make fun of or comfort school bully Victoria when she gets covered in paint. Choosing the moral high ground and comforting her will eventually see the two become friends, but also means she will trust Max when she's told about the dark room, the place where their photography teacher has been drugging and murdering other girls. And if she believes Max, she will go looking for the room and end up getting herself killed. Ironically, being mean means they never become friends, and Victoria gets to live her life blissfully unaware. You know what they say, sometimes you gotta be cruel to be kind. Number 2. Shoot Ashley Until Dawn. Yes, it's Supermassive Games time again. These guys really are the masters of making people regret their decisions, aren't they? Until Dawn was their first foray into the world of interactive horror, but still stands up as one of their best. Taking control of a group of teenagers who are somehow convinced to go back to an isolated cabin and have a party on the anniversary of their 2 friends' disappearance, the player is tasked with keeping them all alive as they are chased by masked men and stalking monsters. Easier said than done, as every decision has rippling effects that often won't make themselves known until much later on. One of these decisions comes when Ashley and Chris have been captured by the masked psycho, and Chris is given a choice: shoot Ashley or shoot himself. Thankfully, it all turns out to be a cruel trick, and no matter what the player chooses, both characters will survive. However, if the player chooses to shoot Ashley, she will never forgive Chris, leading to an ugly situation later down the line when, despite his pleading, she refuses to open the door to the lodge to let him back inside, resulting in his swift decapitation at the hands of a bloodthirsty Wendigo. Who'd have thought that opting to take the life of a loved one in order to save yourself was a bad idea? And number 1, release the tree spirit, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 is a masterclass in morally grey story beats and decisions. Even if the player is convinced they're doing the right thing in the moment, their choice may lead to something terrible in the future. One such choice is whether or not to trust the crones of Crookback Bog and slay a trapped spirit for them. They promise to help Geralt on his quest if he agrees, but that will come at a cost, although it's worth noting that no matter what the player chooses here, bad things will happen. If the player kills the tree spirit, the boorish but charismatic Bloody Baron and his family will live and repair their fractured relationships, but the orphans living at Crookback Bog will be devoured by the crones. Not a nice ending, I admit, but somehow the best of a bad bunch. Choose to free the spirit, and it will save the orphans from their fate, but will also destroy the nearby village of Downwarren. The crones, angry at Geralt's betrayal, will curse the Baron's wife, leading to her death, and the Baron, having lost everything, will hang himself. So much for Geralt's famous quote, "If I have to choose between one evil and another, then I prefer not to choose at all." No, sorry Geralt, old chum, you'll have to pick one, and live with the consequences.